Hello everybody, Wannabe Reviewer here, and welcome back to the Wannabe Podcast, episode 42. Before we begin this week's podcast, two really quick things that I wanted to say. Number one, for a quick update, I know that when my PC died, over on Twitter, and last week when I talked about on the podcast, I've had lots of listeners / subscribers or whatever, a lot of people are reaching out to me, and they were, first of all, giving their condolences for my PC dying. That was one thing, so, thank you for all of the people who, cared to say something. And number two, a lot of people have been asking me if I got a new PC. And so just a quick update. Unfortunately, I have not bought a new PC yet. At the moment, I'm actually using a little laptop that I usually use it for work. And even though, it's not the best laptop, even though I feel the audio quality is a bit off and I don't know, processing times and rendering, that sort of thing, even though I feel it is a bit slower on here, luckily it is a good substitute in the meantime, but no, I have not bought a new PC. Basically, I don't know, I guess I'm just trying to see what I really want, do I want a PC that just does editing and more basic stuff? Do I want a PC that also does gaming? And with that, there's the whole issue of price, and I'm trying to decide if I should buy a new PC, an old PC, make my own PC. I don't know, I'm just trying to figure all that out. But yeah, just quick update, haven't bought a new PC yet, but luckily, in the meantime, I am using this laptop that, while not great, it is getting the job done, so there's that. The other thing I want to say really quickly is that I'm pretty sure this is going to be a shorter podcast, honestly. Just looking at the list of stuff I did and looking at all of the news stories, I don't know. I just feel there's been kind of a dry spell lately when it comes to news stories. I feel there is stuff to talk about, but it's all very brief, release dates, that sort of thing. So yeah, it might be a shorter podcast, but it is what it is. Hopefully you guys are okay with that. With that being said though, there is still some stuff that I did want to talk about, so let's transfer over to that, I guess. So, kicking off my week, the first thing I want to talk about, as always, is anime. And not only am I watching all of the anime that I've talked about in prior weeks, I'm still following along with those, but this last week, I decided to watch the first season of Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon, aka Don Machi. And basically the reason I decided to watch this is that I want to say when the show first came out, I didn't watch it then. It might have been the season right after that. But I did, try out the show, got through maybe 2 or 3 episodes. And, even though I thought the show was fine, I kind of just said, okay, I'll put a hold on that. I'll come back to it. And honestly, I had kind of forgotten about the show. I always kind of just heard people talk about it, but I don't know, it was just kind of out of my mind. Recently though, when I saw the second season of the show finally started airing, that made me go yeah, you know what? I should probably catch up on that. That way, if I like it, I can watch the second season or whatever. And so, I watched the first season and I don't know, man. I just think that's a very mediocre show, honestly. I always try to be pretty nice and give a show a benefit of the doubt, but I don't know, to me it just seems very mediocre. For anyone who doesn't know, I guess, a lot of anime that have to do with adventuring and stuff, it's kind of like a video game where it's almost like an RPG where, people fight in dungeons, they level up, they have skills, they form parties, that sort of thing. So it has that going for it. What makes it a little bit different is that all adventurers, at least I think all adventurers, that's what they've made it seem like. Basically, I guess the deities in this world are real, and they used to live in heaven or something like that. But one day they decided to come down to Earth, or whatever you call that world. They decided to come down with mortals and live among them. And basically anyone who's an adventurer, if you want to be an adventurer, you have to form some sort of a deal with one of like the deities, and basically you form like a little group and they call it like a family basically. So our main character, his name is Bell. He's this, like 14-year-old kid or whatever, white hair. Basically he wanted to join one of these families so he could be an adventurer. No one would have him. At the same time, there's this goddess. Her name is Hestia. No one wanted to be a part of her family because they were loners. They kind of team up. They form this little family thing, and the two of them are really close. Like, honestly, that part of the show, I did kind of like. I thought that was really sweet. Like, this shows that they live together in like some little house. They're very close. It shows that like, in the intro, it shows them like brushing their teeth together, like they're friends, that sort of thing. It's like that part of the show is pretty cute. However, as I said, Belle's an adventurer. Basically, like the premise of the show and where like the title comes from is that I guess his grandpa always told him, like, yeah, you should become like this really strong adventurer, like do your best. That way, if you're ever in a dungeon and you see like a young maiden in trouble, like you can rescue her, you can come to her aid, and you can be like her knight in shining armor, and, maybe you guys will fall in love. And so I guess Belle kind of grew up with that like mindset. However, Belle really sucks at fighting at the beginning of the series, and he's like really weak. So instead of him saving like a young maiden or whatever, it's kind of the opposite, where one day he's like in a dungeon and this like swordswoman saves him because he's gonna get killed by like a minotaur. And so he like falls in love with her. I mean, it's kind of like a role reversal sort of thing, but he feels really embarrassed about how she had to save his life, and he's like, no, I need to, like level up. I need to get more experience. That way I can be like worthy of this swordswoman because she's so cool and she's so strong and she saved my life. And I don't know, he just wants to like he looks up to her and whatever. And so basically when the show starts, Belle's living with this goddess, and he wants to get stronger. And when the show starts, basically, I guess people have different skills, because like I said, it's kind of like an RPG. And Hestia realizes that he has acquired this skill, or like, I guess the more he puts his heart into it, and like the more he's pushed into a corner, like the more he levels up or whatever. Like, it's very strongly tied to his emotions. And, she lies to him because it is like a very rare skill. And she's like afraid that, people might try to hurt him, or, like bad things could happen. And, so she keeps a secret from him, but she notices that, yeah, as he starts fighting, and as he goes after that goal of becoming strong, so he's like worthy of that swordswoman, he starts to like level up and stuff, and he starts to make friends, and he starts to form a party and like get respect in the eyes of other adventurers. I don't know though, unfortunately, like I said, I just think the execution is very mediocre. Like, while on paper, an adventurer having this skill where he levels up, like the more he puts his heart into it and stuff, well, that sounds very nice. And, I can tell they thought they were being very unique with this. The bad thing is that, like, every anime already basically does that. Like, even if the person doesn't have that skill, like, in writing, that's basically what all anime protagonists do anyway. Whether it's like a sports anime or like a fighting anime or whatever, protagonists put their heart into it and they level up. Like, that's a thing that just exists already. So unfortunately, not very unique, not very creative. And I don't know, I mean, well, he's not as overpowered or as much as a Mary Sue as a Kirito from Sword Art Online. I mean, like, that's just ridiculous, where Kirito can do no wrong and everybody loves him. I don't know. I mean, I just felt like, I thought Belle was a little too overpowered. While it was kind of interesting in the first few episodes, where you do see him like fail a lot and try harder, that sort of thing, as the series progresses, it just feels like everything comes like way too easily to him. I think by like the end of like the first season, like he's leveled up in like a month or two. And it takes other people like years to level up. So it gets kind of ridiculous, So I don't know, man. While the show does have some good stuff, like I think the relationship between Belle and Hestia, I think it's very cute. I mean, she has kind of a crush on him. So it is kind of interesting to see that dynamic. And I do think the dynamic is interesting in the sense that even though she has a crush on him and she's in love with him, she knows that he is like so in love with that swordswoman, and she knows that he's leveling up to be like worthy of like someone strong like that. Like the fact that she lets him like do his thing and like she lets him adventure and she doesn't smother him, I think that's really cool. Like, that whole relationship I think is nice. But yeah, everything else is just kind of it's just kind of like, okay, I feel like it's stuff I've seen before, nothing too creative, So I don't really recommend it. I think it's very average, very mediocre. Doesn't really have anything special going on. Follows a lot of the same beats, but who knows? Maybe you'll like it. I don't know. Maybe your opinion will be different from mine. But once again, it's called Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? Maybe you'll enjoy more than I did. Moving on, speaking of things that I didn't like, I watched a movie on Netflix that was supposed to be like this documentary style thing. And man, I saw like a bigger YouTuber talking about it, and he was just saying that it was like a really bad movie. And I got really curious because I'm like, man, could it really be as bad as he's saying? Or is he just being like a little snobby about it? But man, I watched it and like he was right. This anime documentary thing is just... oh man, it's just like not good, all right? I am talking about Netflix's Enter the Anime, and right off the bat, it is basically an advertisement for Netflix anime, stuff like Agretzko, Cannon Busters, Castlevania, that sort of thing. For whatever reason, it's basically an ad. However, if it's done right, I thought it could have some promise. But, oh man, it's just, like I said, it's just so badly done. Like, I'm trying to think of how to put it into words, but basically, I guess the best way to describe it, it feels like they interviewed each of these different creators, and then they realized, like, what should we do with this? How should we, like, package this? And so some, bigwig said, isn't there some intern, that in the break room earlier, she was saying that she just got into anime like a month ago? And someone's like, yeah, what about it? And they're like, hey, how about you tell her, since she likes anime, to use the footage and make a documentary? And sure enough, they got this girl that barely seems to know anything about anime, and she's trying to like put together this documentary about the anime industry. And, oh, it's just so weird, dude. At every corner, she just keeps calling anime edgy. Like, that's all she talks about. She talks about how edgy it is, how crazy it is, how violent it is. Like, that's all she ever talks about. She starts by saying how edgy it is, blah, blah, blah. Cuts to the guy who made Castlevania. The interview with him is fine. He's talking about his mindset, his love for, like, the anime. He talks about how he's kind of like a punk dude and that sort of thing. That part's interesting. But then it cuts back to the girl and she's like, ha ha ha, so edgy, am I right? Oh my god, what even is anime? I know, let's go to Japan. And then it just has footage of her in Japan trying anime food. Trying Japanese like snacks and stuff. Then out of nowhere, it's like, yeah, now let's talk to this guy. And it cuts to them talking to this creator who I guess made a new series called Cannon Busters. And I think what's supposed to be interesting is that he's somehow involved in that show from Adult Swim, The Boondocks. And now he's making anime. And like, that's really interesting, and he kind of talks about it. And like I said, when they do the interviews, that's really cool. But then as soon as they finish talking to the guy, it cuts back to the girl and she goes, yeah, Japan sure is crazy. Isn't it crazy how it's a culture that has traditional stuff such as shrines and people dressed in kimonos, but it also has people dressed like punks and being edgy? And then it cuts to like some other anime creator. And so it's just like such a badly done documentary, Like when you do a documentary, I feel like everything should kind of tie together. It should be almost like a coherent story. And there's none of that here. And not only that, but it's like they picked the worst person for the job. Like, she literally says at the beginning that she has recently gone into anime, and like, you can tell because she doesn't have like any love for like the artwork or like the art form. All she knows how to say is how edgy it is, how violent, how crazy it is, and how, she can't believe that the Japanese people come up with these ideas, and that's it. And it's like an hour of just that. So, I don't know if I'm explaining it right. I feel like my thoughts are kind of all over the place. But yeah, it was just such a awkward documentary. What could have been this awesome, even if it was going to be an ad for Netflix, created anime, even if it was going to be an ad, it could have still been this interesting story about, like, what is the anime industry? Why are these people, how do they come up with these ideas? Like, for the guy who made the Castlevania anime, it would have been interesting if they talked to him and they had his mindset about, what is it like making an anime off of this beloved franchise. With the guy who, is making this series, Cannon Busters, who, used to work on the Boondocks, it probably would have been really interesting if they asked him, what's it like for you as like an American, especially as like a black man making anime, like that's not seen very often. What's that like? Like, I don't know. It could have been such an interesting premise. And instead it's just this quote unquote otaku girl running around saying the anime's edgy, talking about how crazy it is, and then, just stitching footage together. Like, it's just really awkward. So while I do say, maybe look up the anime that come out in the documentary so you can watch them because they are good, like, shows, I would say avoid the documentary. It's just really bad. So yeah, just let's move on. Luckily, the last thing that I'm going to talk about for my week is something that I did enjoy and that I thought was well done. All right. So for anyone who's been over to my YouTube channel, you might have noticed that on Wednesday, I posted a review for a show called Infinity Train. And yeah, I mean, I don't really know what I can say that I didn't already say in the review, but Infinity Train, I thought was a really good little show. I guess that's what I'm going to say. Basically, I would say go check out my review, but, just for like a little short like overview, basically the miniseries, it's about this girl named Tulip Olsen. She's 12 years old. She's, she wants to be a video game creator. Like we see her at her computer, coding and all that good stuff. And she wants to go to this camp so that she could, do like video game creation. Unfortunately, her parents divorced like fairly recently to like the beginning of the series, and she's still like really dealing with that. And so at the beginning of the first episode, she wants to go to that like video game creation camp or whatever, but I guess her parents are still struggling to like, I don't know, like schedule things because of how they, like there's two different households or whatever. And so they accidentally schedule work at the same time, and so no one can take Tulip to the like the video game camp. And not only is Tulip upset because, she loves video games and she wants to be a creator, but she's also upset because of like the whole situation with her parents, and she feels that like because they divorced, like they're ruining her life and stuff. And so basically, at the beginning of the series, she's upset. She decides to run away. She says, "Screw it, I'll get myself to the camp." And, she's trudging through the woods. She comes to some train tracks. A train pulls up. It says that it's going where she needs to go, but it's very obviously like a weird train that like sucks her in. And when she wakes up, she realizes that the train, it's basically like she's in another dimension. Like when she looks out of the train, it's just chugging along this like crazy, empty, barren wasteland that's like surrounded by these like weird cockroach dog things that will attack you if you try to get off the train. So like there's that going on, like she can't get off the train. And the train itself, like the reason it's called the Infinity Train, it's because every single train car is like a different little world. Like there's one train car that's nothing but like a ball pit. Like it's just filled with balls from like, top to bottom. She goes to like another train car. It's basically like she's inside a pinball machine. She goes to another one, and, it's like the Corgi Kingdom, where there's just a bunch of corgis and they're hanging out, and, she meets like the king of the corgis, that sort of thing. And so, basically the premise of the show, it's about Tulip trying to get off the train, trying to solve the mysteries of like, why is there this glowing number on her hand that's counting down? Why is there this like crazy like robot tentacle monster after her? Like, I don't know. It's really interesting. It's really mysterious. It's really cool. I really enjoyed the show because I thought like the characters were good. I thought the humor was good. I think the visuals are really nice. The music's awesome. I think each of the worlds is like really creative. I love how they did that. And yeah, just overall, like the mystery of like why she's on the train, what anything means, and like how she gets off, that part was really cool. And seeing Tulip grow like throughout the course of the little miniseries, that was really enjoyable because, like I said, at the beginning of the series, she's upset about her parents and she's blaming them for ruining her life, that sort of thing. But like by the end, she kind of grows as a person and she learns to like open up to people and she learns to like deal with her parents' divorce. So, like I said, if you want more info, more of a breakdown, you can check out the review over on my channel. But what I will say is that I do recommend the show. I think it's very well done, excellent work, and strangely enough, even though they had said it was going to be a mini series, right, like during like the finale, they actually announced that it's going to come back for season 2. Not really sure how that's going to work, but definitely, if any of this sounds interesting to you, I say check it out. Right now is like the perfect time to catch up. That way, if season 2 comes, I don't know, next year or whatever, you'll be ready for it. So there you go. Alrighty, so there you have it, folks. That basically does it for my week. It's unfortunate that I don't have a lot of positive things to, give input on this week. Mostly it's like one thing that I thought was mediocre, one thing that I thought was terrible, and only one thing that I thought was good. But all the same, hopefully you guys enjoyed, listening to that. And yeah, with that being said, that basically does it for my week. So how about we transfer over to the news? And the first news story that I have, I'm sure there are many of you who are tired about hearing about this game, but as the title of the first article states, Shantae 5, officially titled Shantae and the Seven Sirens, first details and screenshots. So, like I said, I'm sure that there are probably some of you who are super tired of hearing me talk about Shantae. What can I say? I love the series. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm excited for this game. And yeah, I'll make it really brief. But basically, a couple of days ago, they finally announced what the name of the game is. It's going to be called Shantae and the Seven Sirens. Personally, I think that is an awesome name. I don't know if it means that Shantae will fight seven sirens. Maybe there'll be like seven sirens who are bosses. That's a cool premise. Or maybe Shantae will have to reunite seven sirens, I know on the poster there is 4 girls to her left. Well, I guess technically it's her right, but you know what I mean. There's 4 girls to one side. On the other side where she has all her allies, there is 3 other girls. So put them together, that is 7. Maybe her friends and new allies she meets, maybe those will be the 7 sirens. I don't know, but I think it's a cool title. I think it sounds like an interesting premise when you read about it. Basically it says that this game will see Shantae and her friends going to a new island, and she's gonna encounter other half-genie allies. So that's really cool. And I don't know, when I read about it, I think it sounds awesome. I think the artwork looks nice. I know a lot of people aren't fond of the half-genie hero art. I know they were hoping that Way Forward would go back to the Pirate's Curse art, because they just liked it better. Personally, I don't mind either way. I think both art styles are really nice, but I think the game looks good. I think the premise and the title sounds interesting. If you read about it, it says that there's going to be mini games, there's going to be collectibles, there's going to be new transformations. It seems like they're bringing back an interconnected world with dungeons, kind of like they had in previous games. That sounds exciting. And finally, something that I think is really cool. Recently, they had said that they're going to have that anime intro, which actually seems like it was a leftover idea from the Half Genie Hero Kickstarter. And another thing that they had said is that they wanted animated, voiced cutscenes. And sure enough, right there, the last bullet point, gorgeously animated TV style cutscenes. So I'm excited. I was already excited for this game. I'm even more excited. Everything I hear about it just gets me more and more excited. Sounds like it's gearing up to be an awesome game. And yeah, unfortunately, it still doesn't have a release date. It still says to be announced, but I'm excited. I know, like I said, you guys are probably tired of hearing me say I'm excited, but hopefully this will be the last announcement that I, talk about on the podcast. And besides that, if you love the series, I would say also look forward to it. Like I said, hopefully we get it soon. And yeah, don't really know what else to say, so let's move on. Moving on, this next news story is the follow-up to a news story that I actually said back during episode 18. That was back in February. But back in February, during episode 18, I talked about A Hat in Time and how basically there was news that there was going to be a Switch version sometime in the future. And, since then, people have just been waiting and waiting and waiting because, a lot of people just want to play it on the Switch, right? And finally, months later, we have the follow-up to that. And it's finally been announced that A Hat in Time for Switch launches October 18th. So it's been a long time coming, for all those people who have been waiting. That does kind of suck. But there you go. The game's finally coming out. It's right around the corner. Basically, other information from the article. It says that there's going to be both a physical and digital version. So I think that's really cool. And not only that, but it's actually going to come with one of the pieces of DLC. At this point, I don't know if it's like 2 or 3 versions of DLC that have come out on the PC version. None of them have come out on the console, but yeah, like if you read the article, it says that the Seal the Deal DLC will come on the Switch. So that's cool, you know? Well, on the one hand, it does kind of suck how the PS4 and Xbox One versions haven't even had the option for DLC. Well, I do think that's lame. And while I do agree, I saw some comments. Well, I do agree that it sucks that it hasn't had a physical version. I mean, like I said, I get the disappointment. I do think it sucks, but I don't know. Hopefully if we wait, maybe that'll change, but I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to like look on the positive side. It's finally coming to Switch. It has DLC. Like I said, hopefully in the future, the other console versions will also have the DLC. And yeah, I mean, if in the future nothing changes, that's where I definitely think fans should be very vocal about it. But in the meantime, at least we have this news and it's fun news. So if you wanted to play ahead in time, but you were waiting to get it like on the Switch or something, then there you go. Look forward to it. As I said, it's coming October 18th. So there you go. Moving on, this next news story, I guess the best thing to say is that it makes me sad. All right. As the title of the article states, PT turns 5 this week. Rest in peace, PT. Now, I don't know how many of you know, I know not everyone's super into gaming. I know that sometimes some people who are into gaming, they don't really follow everything the way I might do it. But back in 2014, I mean, that's what's crazy, man. It's already been 5 years. Wow. But yeah, back in 2014, Kojima, who's the guy who makes like the Metal Gear games and who's now going to make the Death Stranding title, back in 2014 during, I don't remember what it was. I don't remember if it was E3 or like a Game Awards show, but he released this like mysterious demo. And, it was released under like a fake studio name and, nobody knew what it was. And yeah, I mean, when you play it, it was just like this really scary, really well put together, atmospheric like demo thing. And yeah, I mean, if you haven't played it, I would say like look up some footage of it, because despite being a demo, it was like so well done. It was like so scary, looked great. It was like the atmosphere was perfect. And basically, what this little title called PT ended up being is that it was a playable teaser. And basically, if you did some stuff in the demo, if you did like the right sequence of events, it would unlock a trailer for an upcoming title called Silent Hills. And it was supposed to be a title in the Silent Hill franchise. And yeah, basically Kojima was working on it. He was teaming up with Guillermo del Toro. They were going to use Norman Reedus as the main character. I don't know. I mean, it was like some really good talent. I don't remember. I can't think of everybody off the top of my head, but I know there was some other like really talented people involved in this. And I mean, if the playable teaser was that good, people were like super excited about what Silent Hills could be. I mean, me included, because I love the Silent Hill series, and I think it's a shame how like near the end, like the last few titles were like really bad, like they really strayed from their roots. So basically, what I'm trying to get at, they released this playable teaser. It looked really good. Unfortunately, for anyone who doesn't know, Konami, they basically fired Kojima. Kojima, he went and made his own studio. He's working on Death Stranding now. And unfortunately, Silent Hills got canceled. And, from what we can tell, Konami, they don't seem to really enjoy making games anymore. They just like making, like pachinko games and mobile stuff. So I don't know, like they really suck now. They're letting all their IPs basically die. And so yeah, I mean, reading this story, it just made me sad because PT was awesome. Silent Hills looks like it could have been incredible. And knowing that it's been 5 years since the release of that, and knowing that like title never came to be, like, oh man, it's just one of those things that sucks, It's one of those things that hurts. And it's one of those things that like, damn, like what could have been? We could have had this great horror game, could have revived the Silent Hill franchise. And I don't know, unfortunately, due to some bigwigs, it's something that we'll never get. So I don't know, I just thought I'd throw that in there. I don't know if anyone listening to this has as much love for this project as I did, but yeah, if you're interested, the link in the description below will like take you to the article. From there, it talks about like the history of it. I guess, you can go look up the game. I know in the description, some people are talking about like some remakes for PC, that sort of thing. But yeah, if you're interested, go check it out. I suggest it. I think it's an incredible game that never came to be, so check it out. Jumping from something that unfortunately never saw the light of day, we are now jumping to something that unfortunately did see the light of day. This is an interesting story. As the title of the article states, 26 years later, here's a deleted scene from the Super Mario Bros. Movie. So, for anyone who doesn't know, if you were living under a rock, back in the 90s, they made this Super Mario Brothers live action movie that, even though the main actors, the guy who was playing Mario, the guy who was playing Luigi, even though they put their heart into it, the movie was just really bad. Because, I've looked at like this YouTuber that he talked about kind of like the history of the movie, but basically the people who made it, they were this couple that I guess they were hoping to use this to like launch their careers, but they didn't care about the source material. So they were just like insufferable to be around, bossing everybody around, changing the script all the time, adding stupid stuff that has nothing to do with the Mario games. And so yeah, as to the surprise of nobody, the movie was terrible. And yeah, as the article talks about, even though it's been 26 years since the movie came out, there's apparently this the like Super Mario Bros. Movie.com, and I don't know, it says here, they've spent years cataloging and uploading everything you'd want to know about the movie. And I guess recently they got their hands on a VHS tape that has like deleted scenes from the movie. And so, if you follow the link in the description below, you'll see like the little video, and yeah, you can actually watch some deleted scenes. Even though there's supposed to be like quite a bit more, I think there's supposed to be like 15 minutes extra or something like that. This clip is like 3 minutes. And yeah, it's just like this weird scene where it shows Mario and Luigi arriving at like a location, and they get into an argument with like some fellow plumbers or whatever. And I guess it's supposed to be significant because this is supposed to be the first scene where you see them talk about their full names. If you haven't watched the movie, Mario says that his name is Mario, and Luigi's full name is Luigi Mario, because I guess it's supposed to be like, haha, because they're the Mario brothers. And I don't know, it's really corny, but I guess it's supposed to be like a joke or whatever. And in this scene, you kind of see them talking about their names and arguing with these like fellow plumbers or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. It's just, even though like this movie was like a big mess, it is interesting how much content there is to it, like the fact that 26 years later, there's still like deleted scenes to be found and stuff. That's kind of cool, And so yeah, if you're interested, link in the description below. Talks about, like the website, talks about the scene. You can watch the scene for yourself, all that good stuff. But I think it's an interesting read, I think it's interesting to check out. So if you have some time, head over there and take a look at it. Continuing with the train of disappointment, this next news story, like when I look at the title, like I just shake my head and I just go like, come on people, I thought you were better than this, As the title of the article states, Lion King is Disney's highest grossing non-Marvel / Star Wars movie ever. So that's right. Even though there are much better movies out there, even though I would say there's better live action Disney remakes, honestly, I would say I probably prefer Aladdin like 10 times over this. For whatever reason, Lion King is making a bunch of money, is what I guess I'm trying to say. Like, for instance, it says right here, it beat the opening weekend record for Beauty and the Beast, like the live action one. And yeah, apparently, after all of like the Marvel and Star Wars, like live action movies, this is like the highest grossing movie ever. So I don't know, man. I'm gonna try to not be too bitter about it, even though I think it's really dumb. Like, seriously, if you go look it up, the Be Prepared song from Scar, in the new movie, they don't even sing it. He just kind of uses it like as a speech. It's like really weird. And even though, Hakuna Matata is literally just animals running in a straight line with like no choreography or like, I don't know, life on their face, even though I think this movie looks terrible, even though I think it's like not worth anyone's money, I'm gonna try not be too bitter about it because I don't know. I mean, maybe the same way that I enjoy Marvel movies, I know I have some like followers on YouTube. I mean, I know they're very vocal about not liking superhero movies and that sort of thing. So I don't know, maybe the way I'm feeling right now about Lion King, that's probably how they feel about Marvel and stuff. So, it's one of those things where like, fair enough, people have different tastes. Nostalgia's a big part in it, A lot of people, I guess they just want to re-see this movie they loved or whatever. But it is what it is, I guess it's making money. I mean, I guess that's just the way things work. So I don't know. Let's move on. Luckily, even though there have been quite a few lows in this podcast, for every low, I do feel like there are some highs. And yeah, luckily enough, this next one kind of gets the bad taste out of my mouth. As the title of the article states, Dark Crystal Age of Resistance final trailer teases Netflix's Prequel. So I don't know how many of you knew, but that old Jim Henson, puppet movie, The Dark Crystal, it's actually getting like a prequel series over on Netflix. And I don't know, I know a lot of people were worried about it. They were afraid that, a lot of these reboots and remakes and stuff, they're not that great. They kind of lose the spirit of the originals or whatever. But I'll have to say, that's why I'm saying that this is like kind of a positive. Even though I'm not like the biggest Dark Crystal fan, like even though I don't like know everything about it, I just watched the movie like a couple of times and thought it was good, I was actually quite impressed with the trailer. Like if you watch it, yeah, you can tell it has CGI. Like obviously, it's more modernized, but looking at it, I think it looks really good. Like a lot of people are saying in the comments, I think they're using like just the right amount of CGI and puppetry. Like that's what I think is cool. That even though there's definitely like some CGI for some of the like effects and stuff, you can still tell that they're keeping the puppetry. And so I think it looks really nice, maybe that's just me, but yeah, if you check it out, let me know what you think. But I think it actually looks interesting, I think it's cool that they're still using the puppets. I think the effects help it to look more crisp and clear, make the effects look nicer. And the premise of it, even though I am a little bit iffy on the premise, I mean, I guess has potential to be interesting. I mean, like if you've watched Star Wars Rogue One, it kind of sounds like it's that style of thing where it's basically about like this resistance group and all the stuff that they did that I guess set the groundwork for like the actual heroes, later on. I mean, even though in Rogue One I thought it was kind of here, it could work better. It could definitely work better. And like I said, I think the puppetry looks good. I think the effects look nice. I think the premise sounds okay. So I don't know. I'm keeping my hopes up that this ends up being a good series. I know a lot of people like in the comments section of like the YouTube, trailer or whatever. I know they said they were excited. So it's supposed to hit Netflix Friday, August 30th. And yeah, I'm definitely going to check it out. Maybe I'll do a review on it. We'll see how it goes. But if you're interested, link in the description below. You can see the trailer for yourself. And if you're excited, then, keep your eye out for it. So there you go. Moving on, this last news story is another short one, but like I said, luckily, I don't know, it did bring like a smile to my face, I guess you can say. I do see it as a positive thing. As the title of the article states, Promare anime film tops 1 billion yen. Now, basically, I know I talked about it before a couple times. For anyone who doesn't know, Promare is this anime film by Studio Trigger. Studio Trigger, one of my favorite anime studios. They've made a bunch of really hype stuff like Kill la Kill, Space Patrol Luluko, Little Witch Academia. A lot of the people from Studio Trigger, they used to work for a studio called Gainax. Gainax is the one who made Gurren Lagann, which is like one of my favorite, series ever. And so I have a lot of love for Studio Trigger. I think that a lot of the stuff they make is really good. And I don't know, I guess the reason it brings a smile to my face, not only am I happy to see that a movie by Studio Trigger is doing really good, but I think it's really nice whenever I hear that like an anime film is doing good. Like going back to like that Lion King example, for instance, that's a movie that when I see how well it's doing, despite, in my opinion being, I don't know, just like a very shoddy remake that doesn't really deserve all that attention, when I see that something like this is doing well, like, I guess it makes me feel good that, you know, the smaller films do stand a chance, I guess. Because as an anime fan, that makes me feel like I have options to like go watch anime films if I want. And I don't know, just seeing them succeed, I don't know, I just think, like I said, it's nice. It's nice to see that like a movie that isn't some huge Disney property can actually do well, you know? So, I don't know, more information from the article that's worth mentioning. Like I said, the movie has made over 1 billion yen. Apparently that translates to about 9.4 million USD. So, you know, it's doing all right. It says that even though the movie has only been released in Japan, apparently it is going to hit North America September 17th and 19th through some sort of like an event or whatever. And there's going to be like an English dub and English sub version of the movie. And then after that, apparently it says the film will separately open in select theaters on September 20th. So that's cool, you know, I'm excited. I'm gonna see if I go check this out. I mean, it is quite a whiles away, but I think that's fine. And yeah, guys, I mean, likewise, if you guys are big anime fans, if you like going to theaters to watch anime movies, or maybe you've never watched an anime movie before, like I said, I just thought this was a fun story to share. I think that if you're like an anime fan, like for sure, I would say go like support these movies when they come out. Even though I have no problems with bigger movies, like I get it, you know, I think they're fun to watch. I think it is also important to support smaller movies because, you know, they're trying their best and they deserve attention. So there you go. Alrighty guys, and with that being said, that brings us to the end of another news week. As usual, hopefully there was something that was like interesting, entertaining, informative, that sort of thing. I know that all of the news stories, I mean, I felt like they were kind of short. I feel like they were all kind of just announcements or that sort of thing, but all the same, hopefully there was some sort of a news story that you know, caught your attention. And with that being said, I think it's time to transfer over to the last segment of the podcast, which is the content creator spotlight. And the content creator for this week, even though I haven't been following them for too long, in fact, I don't actually remember how I started following them. I know it has to do either with like Cadaver Club or like Dave Maggot or like Galactic Happy Hour. You know, I'm not really sure which one of them got this guy on my radar, but I think he's an awesome content creator. I think he deserves lots of attention. You know, that's how I feel with all of these content creators. And I am, of course, talking about Mike's Collectible Madness. Now, Mike's Collectible Madness, currently sitting at 1,030 subscribers. I think he has a really fun channel that, I mean, the title kind of says it all. His channel is basically about collectibles. From Funko Pops to figures to comics and posters, that sort of thing. Basically, all the videos he does are showing off different collectibles. So for instance, not too long ago, he did a video that I thought was really awesome, where he showed off a Kingdom Hearts, it's from Kingdom Hearts 2, and it's from when Sora goes to Halloween Town, and it's basically a figure of Sora in his Halloween Town gear. And like, I think that's a really cool figure. I really enjoyed seeing that like unboxing thing. Likewise, you know, since then, he's done like a whole bunch of videos where he shows different Funko Pops. Like for instance, not that long ago, he showed off all of his Starship Troopers Funko Pops. He showed off his Teen Wolf Funko Pops. He showed off his Rocky Horror Picture Show Funko Pops. I mean, like this dude, I don't know how he gets his hands on so many Funko Pops, but it's impressive to see how he has like a theme, like, you know, some sort of like a series or whatever, and he has all the Funko Pops in the collection. So like, that's really fun. And besides the collectibles, it looks like there's something he does every week called Mike's 7 Picks for the Week. And basically, you know, he just sits down and he suggests 7 movies that he thinks you should watch for the week. So, I think this last one that he did like a few days ago, like I know he suggested a lot of classics. Like he suggested, 16 Candles, Ratatouille, he suggested, Fast Time at Ridgemont High, just a bunch of those like really like fun 80s movies. I mean, except Ratatouille, I mean, that's like a early 2000s, you know, Pixar movie. But yeah, he just does that, where he just like sits down, says, here's 7 movies I think you should watch, here's why, and And yeah, I mean, that's a fun suggestion. You know, I enjoy those videos as well. So Mike, if you're listening to this, I haven't been following you for too long, but I really enjoy your content. I think watching how you just have all these collectibles, I think it's really fun. I mean, whether it's like the Funko Pops that you seem to get your hand on like everything, or if it's like the figures, you know, like that, like Kingdom Hearts figure, or like that, what was their figure I really like that you had? Like that Jason figure, that was really cool. The Saw figures that you showed off a couple of days ago, those are really well made. You know, I think your figures are always awesome. I think watching your Funko Pop collections, those are always fun. And those 7 picks of the week you do or whatever, I think that's like a really nice idea, you know? Even though it's like really different from kind of your other content, I think it's kind of cool that you just sit down, suggest 7 movies, and, you know, people can choose to watch them or not. I think that's really cool. So Mike, if you're listening to this, I think you have an awesome channel. I think your content is always really fun to watch. You know, there's always something new you bring to the table. And yeah, dude, I mean, I definitely think you deserve more subscribers. I wish you the best. I say, you know, keep up the good work, dude. I think your stuff is awesome. And for anyone else listening, you know, as always, if you're listening to this, why not go over to Mike's Collectibles Madness? Maybe, you know, watch his videos, give him a like, subscribe, comment, that sort of thing. And yeah, as always, if you check him out, tell him that Wannabe Reviewer sent you, show him some love, and there you go. Alrighty guys, and with that being said, that brings us to the end of another podcast. That is one more in the bag. I thought that this podcast was going to be kind of short. Looking over at the time, I guess it ended up not being as short as I thought it was going to be, but it is what it is. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this podcast, whether it was, you know, me talking about the stuff to avoid, I guess, in my week, or whether it was, you know, the news stories, or it was me introducing you to Mike's Collectibles Madness, that sort of thing. Hopefully there was something you guys got out of it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed your time listening to this podcast. And yeah, to wrap up, my name is your Wannabe Reviewer, host of the Wannabe Podcast, available on all sorts of platforms. And as for me, you can find me over on social media such as Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. I know I haven't really been posting on my social media, but I don't know. I mean, I was working on a lot of stuff. Hopefully I start posting more, you know, because, you know, if I'm telling people to follow me, there should be something for them to see, right? So hopefully I post some more, you know, soon. And yeah, with that being said, I'll try my best to be back here next week for episode 43. Until then, I hope you guys have a wonderful week. My name has been Wannabe Reviewer, and I'll see you guys next time.